Hello and welcome back to part two of the new series that I've started, favorite albums of all time. If you haven't seen the first part, it's probably worth watching because, basically this is my excuse to talk about all sorts of albums I've already talked about, albums I will talk about again, but also albums that I might never talk about on the channel for any other reason. It's sort of also a snapshot of my taste now. I'm sort of treating this as like a changing document, I suppose. So this is like a snapshot of it now, and who knows, in 2 years it might be completely different, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of stuff that is also quite similar. So let's just get right into it. 90 through 81 today, and coming in at number 90 is Late Registration by Kanye West, one of my favorite hip hop albums of all time, released in 2005, his second album. Has some of his most iconic songs like Touch the Sky and Diamonds of Sierra Leone, but also some, Hey Mama as well, and also tracks like Roses, which really are quite emotional, quite heartfelt, more so than stuff he'd do later. It's my favorite album of his. And I think one of my favorites of the genre, not my very favorite, because there's more to come on the list, but I think it's really strong and it's good enough to make the top 100. Number 89 is an album I have talked about. For 1965, it was Otis Blue by Otis Redding. Really cool album. Lots of cool covers on here, but also the originals are great as well. Obviously, the original version of Respect is on here, which is later covered by Aretha Franklin, and I've Been Loving You Too Long is great. But then, some great covers on here as well, like Shake, Wonderful World, the Sam Cooke covers, My Girl, great version of that song. Just has a great mood to it. It's a great sort of autumn night listen for me. And then at 88, the first appearance of a band that will show up again, I could say that, and it is Rush. And the album I've got for here is an album I've also talked about before, and it's Farewell to Kings, album I picked up on vinyl earlier this year, I think. And it has, I think it's one of the best of their sort of 70s prog period. Has the title track is great, and Close to the Heart and Xanadu, just great stuff all the way through the album. So that's how it's landed at number 88. I think it's really strong and sort of a really good reflection of their more proggy side. 87 is going to be Moondance by Van Morrison, an album I'm really fond of. Very acclaimed album, sort of a classic of the 70s, which I think is fair enough. Title track, Into the Mystic. Just the whole track list is just classics. I could list them off all day. I think it almost plays as the greatest hits in some ways. It's not my favorite Van Morrison album. I think that one will show up later on, but I think it is one of his best albums for sure. And great musicianship throughout the album. The band is great, and his voice is on top form. Great songwriting. Can't complain. Number 86, we're going into the 90s again. And it's my favorite album of a band. Overall, I'm not sure how I feel about them, but this album I do love, and it is REM with Automatic for the People. As a whole, REM, I don't quite get as much as some people, especially, I want to like them more because I like a lot of the other bands around that time and a lot of the bands that they influenced. And I do love this album. John Paul Jones on board doing the strings here. Just loads of great songs. Night Swimming is probably my favorite, but I also love Find the River and Try Not to Breathe and Man on the Moon. Just tremendous album, really. And it is, the best thing that they did, I think. 85, another album that I've talked about quite a lot on the channel, so I can keep this brief. It's Son of Schmielson by Harry Nilsson, his second appearance on the list already. I like this slightly better than the album that it follows. I think it's got the humor that I really like. It's got a lot more variety, and I think I enjoy basically every song on here. Joy is a really weird sort of country Johnny Cash parody type thing. Then you've also got really sincere songs like Remember and Turn On Your Radio and the Lottery song. But yeah, also some really funny songs like You're Breaking My Heart and Take 54. And I just think it's really fun. It's sort of a real mood lifter for me whenever I listen to it. So that comes in at number 85. 84, another artist making their first appearance and won't be their last, and it's Elvis Costello with Armed Forces is my number 84. Really fun album, as Accidents Will Happen and Oliver's Army, and Two Little Hitlers. Just so many amazing songs, really well written, really clever lyricism, but also a real melodic sensibility as well, which I appreciate. So that comes in at 84. And then 83, an album that probably would have landed a bit higher if I did this a couple of years ago, and it's Heaven or Las Vegas by the Cocteau Twins. Very dreamy, sort of sends you to a different land, essentially. Obviously, Cherry Colored Funk is the big song on here, but my favorite is the title track, Heaven or Las Vegas. Just an incredible vocal melody. I just think it's glorious, really euphoric song. And it is a classic album of the 90s. So yeah, that's my number 83. And then 82 and 81 are actually both from the same year, which I find quite interesting. They're both from 1985. And my number 82 is going to be Low Life by New Order, which I think is their best album. Really great synth pop here. Love Vigilantes, maybe their best song lyrically. I think is a really cool story song. Also Elysia and Sunrise. And yeah, I think it's a really stacked track list. It's got great sound, really well produced, and obviously the performances are great, as they always are. Peter Hook killing it on bass. And then number 81, to round off this video, just ahead of its 1985 counterpart, it's going to be Tears for Fears with Songs from the Big Chair, which is also a classic album. Sort of essential listening, really, for 80s pop. You got Shout, The Working Hour, Head Over Heels, and of course, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Broken is great as well. I just think it's a brilliant flow to the album from front to back. It's really big sounding, and I think that, I think that it's pretty much as good as 80s pop gets. There's a couple 80s pop albums I have above it, but it's hard to top. I think it's deserving of its classic status. So yeah, there we are. That is 90 through 81. We'll probably get the next part out next, and then it'll be Genesis, Always, and Wilco are the next three discographies to come, with Sam, Chris, and Vanessa, who has not been on the channel yet, respectively. So they are coming up next, and these videos will sort of be coming in between while I'm editing other stuff, and I'll slowly get this series out. But like I said, my list is already done, so this is a nice sort of easy thing that I can do in between making those, and I enjoy it, and I like to see people's feedback on the albums I'm talking about. So yeah, let me know which of these is your favorite, and if any of these would make your top 100, and yeah, catch you soon.